As an unassuming sort of chap, I like to slip into a new town as quietly as possible with a minimum of fuss.
And you wouldn't be wrong to enjoy some traditional weapons.
But Durban is one of those places where they like to party. And on the weekend I arrived, there was a perfect excuse for a celebration.
Really very gracious. So, let me hold your cup. You've got to try it out.
What do I have to do with it?
You hit people on the head with it.
Hit on the head with it.
By an amazing coincidence, it was the final of South Africa's main rugby competition. And somehow, and I don't know how, the mayor and lots of civic dignitaries know that I'm very fond of rugby. So they were there to greet me with all sorts of useful presents.
And you're wearing the right jersey for Saturday morning.
Well, we'll be working for you on Saturday.
Thank you very much. Thank you, enjoy.
Thank you very much.
So much.
And after weeks of roughing it in the bush, all this came as a bit of a shock. Mind you, I was really looking forward to the game. They call Durban South Africa's funshine city. The fun bit is fairly simple, and there wasn't much shine around either. It's a cosmopolitan sort of place where, in the shadow of the skyscrapers, all sorts of cultures come together. You'd like it, Hector, as there's a huge Indian population here, so the curries are excellent. And here's one of me rushing for an appointment with a different sort of curry, the Curry Cup final. The pre-match entertainment is brilliantly Afrikkaan. But apart from that, it's a bit like any big rugby match anywhere in the world, with 40,000 fans thoroughly enjoying themselves. And it's not just the game they come for, it's the food. And just like the English, they love having barbecues in the pouring rain.
This is not exactly Glyndebourne. It's rather much more sophisticated than any sunny summer opera session. See, you have to do it whichever you want to do it. It's very important as a totally unbiased Englishman to support both sides today. And if these win, this comes off, and if these win, this comes off. It's terribly simple. Anyway, all they do on rugby days is eat this boerwurst, which is a fascinating sausage of ground beef, salted pork fat, which is called speck, and coriander. And you just throw it on there like that. And because all these guys were very fond of beer, and if you check at them, some of them have quite large tummies, rugby players like a really good steak on their barbie. And just for the faint-hearted, just a 15-ounce entrecote will be absolutely fine. Put a few of those on, a few kebabs. It's all terribly simple. You drink lots of beer, and then you go and watch the game, and after the game you drink even more beer.
All the officials gather for the big occasion, and even if not everyone in the crowd knows who they are, there are a few here who must have seen some of the Floyd programs. I had no difficulty getting a ticket. South Africans take their rugby very seriously, and in the year when they became world champions, the crowd was even more enthusiastic than usual. And it doesn't really matter who was playing, but just for the record, Natal beat Western Province, much to the delight of the home crowd. While rugby is vitally important, the real business of Durban takes place on the water. The port is the busiest port in Africa and prides itself on being the gateway to the continent. Today, it is Africa's main container handling port, and a fleet of tugs is busy 24 hours a day shepherding the big ships in and out of the harbour. My chum David is a skipper on one of these tugs, and I thought it'd be fun to brighten up his day's work by cooking him a little treat.
Good morning, how are you? Very well, thank you. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Happy birthday, I believe.
Yes, it is indeed.
Excellent stuff. We'll back up in a bottle a bit later.
It was on Christmas Day 1497 that Vasco da Gama first sighted what he referred to as the land of Natal. But it wasn't until 300 years later that it really began to develop as a trading post for ivory. This busy waterway used to be a quiet lagoon, where the waves of the Indian Ocean lapped gently on the beach. It's now a big business, handling 2/3 of all of South Africa's imports and exports, a cool 50 billion rands worth. This big cargo ship is tying onto the tug to be guided to its berth. It's one of 5,000 ships a year which come here from all corners of the globe.
This, as you can see under the clear blue skies and the brilliant sunshine, is the wonderful natural harbour of Durban. For those of you who are interested in these things, and clearly Chris is, he thinks he's a monkey powder thing on a battleship, this is the largest harbour in Africa, one of the busiest ones, and it's really nice. And on a clear day, it looks really pretty as well. But of course, it's raining, and it never rains in Durban. So Chris, if you could tear yourself down, tuck her down here, and we'll do a bit of cooking. You can't come to Durban without eating curry. It is curry, 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 curry. And Dave, the skipper, is having his birthday today, so I thought I'd cook him a curry. It's all terribly simple. We have some onions. Curries keep going on very much the same, really. We put some onions in there first of all. I've also got some lovely bits of cinnamon bark, which will flavour it really, really nicely. And back here a bit, Chris, something which is really delicious to add to a curry are curry leaves. And of course, the fiercely hot chilies and some coriander. Lamb is all the go in Durban too. They have wonderful lamb, so we're going to make a lamb curry. You don't have to brown the meat here. You just get the meat covered round with a bit of oil and just very lightly sealed. We chuck in some tomatoes. Then we pop in lots of nice garlic. Lots of nice chopped ginger. Some of our excellent curry powder. This is going to be a pretty hot one. I can tell you that, a seriously hot one. Give that all a good stir. Bit of the old cinnamon bark. Quite a bit of that. Up to me, please, Chris. We now just pop the lid on and leave that to simmer away for about half an hour until the meat is tender, then we'll add some more bits and pieces. There is no, sorry, Chris, I didn't say that, thank you. There is no water added to this curry, just the natural juices from the meat, the tomatoes and the onions form the very rich, spicy gravy that accompanies it. So it's great, isn't it? Welcome to Durban, Sunshine City of South Africa.
So you see, dear Hector, this is the importance of postcards. It's the only way I can show you what it should really look like. You see, the sun does shine, except when the Floyd crew is in town, of course.
We've got some lovely samples to go. There's some pickled mangoes, pickled lemons, fruit chutneys, currants, coconut, tomatoes, onions and chili, all nice things to go in it. But it's been cooking away for some time now. What does it say on my hat? It says the waiting's over, it's nearly finished. Waiting over, so we whack in some spuds. We'll strip in a few of these lovely curry leaves. And we pop in, sorry, Chris, you can say that, a few nice leaves of coriander. The lid goes back on, and it takes as long as it takes. And we should probably call this curry the Good Ship Lollipop curry, because it is a very nice lollipop-shaped ship, isn't it? And look at that, stop looking at me all the time. Show something interesting, like a barracks or a fuel dump
or the local surfers strutting their stuff and providing a sporty interlude while the curry cooks. Enough of that, editor. Back to the food, please.
David, if you'd like to have a try of this curry, it might be just a little bit hot, but you must tell us honestly what you think of it.
Give it a try.
It's lamb and potato curry from a recipe told to me by an old Durban sea captain. Captain Ahab, he was called. So, have a go.
Have a go.
Delicious.
Is it?
Very nice.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Have a glass of port and cheer yourself up.
With such a big Indian population in Durban, curries dominate the menus, and there was one dish I was really keen to track down. It's called, for reasons I don't understand, bunny chow, and Mr. Patel's bunny chow shop is an absolute must for visiting food fans. Bunny chow is a simple and remarkably cheap way of serving a good, nutritious meal. I don't see why it's unique to Durban, because it would catch on anywhere else in the world.
Today is a very special treat for the cameraman, Chris. We brought him to a vegetarian kitchen, and he is a vegetarian. He's had a hard time eating buffaloes and crocodiles and rhinoceroses and things. So here today, he's really happy. But all this food, which is actually nutritious and delicious, is terribly simple. And the basic ingredients are quite straightforward. Dried beans, which are soaked and then cooked with all the spices and end up looking like this. They're really nice they are too. Or little lentils or mung peas, whichever they can be, just simply cooked away in a bit of water. The sugar peas, equally, are cooked with lots of the spices, and they're really good. And then there's a simple vegetable curry, which is just made from potatoes, onions, tomatoes, and again, all of the spices. Other bits they have, little doughy, deep-fried herb balls, and scalloped potatoes. It's all jolly delicious.
What makes bunny chow special is the way it's served. An ordinary loaf of bread is chopped in half and the middle scooped out.
You should laugh. A bit of everything, thanks.
Then the curry, or mixture of curries, is ladled into the hollow loaf. And all this for just a few pennies, or cents.
Brilliant, thank you very much indeed. Great stuff. Good morning, how are you? I've never had this before. I can have a little go at this. This is wonderful. The reason I'm always on about don't like vegetarians is because they eat nut cutlets and stuff like that. And when you eat real food cooked without meat, it's absolutely delicious and quite acceptable. I am from here on in a vegetarian.
Well, perhaps not forever. You see, the delights of the local market soon got my carnivorous taste buds back.
What is that particular?
That's salmon.
Salmon, this one?
A rock cod.
Another rock cod again,
That's another rock
is it?
cod there. Red slingers.
Singers.
That's a silver.
What's the stuff for that?
This is a stump nose.
Oh, it's brilliant. Sheep's hearts and lights. Sheep's tripe. You know, when I was a kid, we used to have to eat tripe when we'd been poorly. Tripe and onions, very well-known Yorkshire dish. In France, they cook it with onions and garlic and tomatoes. Here, they curry it. And here's another thing. You might find this a bit squeamish, load of sheep's heads, but even I, as a kid, often had a pig's head for lunch on Sundays when we couldn't afford a whole pig or a whole leg of pork. But people who dismiss this kind of food are either fools or snobs, and they're quite stupid. One of these, singed sheep's head, jointed up and curried, is nutritious, delicious, and inexpensive, and it's a gastronomic experience.
Goodbye, veggies. Hello, meat. And, dear Hector, as you know, I never was very fond of staying too long in any one place, so, having had my fill of curries, it's time to go.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
All aboard. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
We take the baggage from you.
Okay.
Now, most airlines in the world get rid of their planes when they become old and tired, but my chums at South African Airways have a much better idea. They keep them flying so you can enjoy a taste of what air travel used to be like. And this Junkers 52 is straight out of the pages of one of my boys' own annuals. You know, the stories about heroic campaigns in the desert rats, and all that sort of stuff. Once there were 5,000 of these planes in service, but now there are only 6 airworthy examples left. This is what flying was like back in the 30s, before the days of mass travel, leather seats, plenty of legroom, and a touch of luxury. And I was heading for the mountain kingdom of Lesotho, a mysterious land hidden among the peaks of the Drakensberg Mountains on the roof of Africa. Lesotho used to be called Basotho land, About the size of Belgium, it's the only country in the world with all its land lying at a height of more than 1,000 meters. And the people here are a proud mountain race with a brave history. And here's one of me on my way to cook a meal for the most distinguished guest I've ever had on a Floyd program, Her Majesty Queen Mamahutu, Queen of Lesotho. Her Majesty knows a thing or two about food. At her summer residence in the village of Matsieng, she is a successful chicken farmer. As well as the meal I planned to cook for the Queen, it turned out that she was getting a few dishes ready for us, and all the Queen's staff were busy preparing the royal birds.
To celebrate this regal occasion, I've lined up the latest in high-tech cooking machines this morning. I've got my trusty charcoal burner, my magnificent gas ring and wok, and my latest, greatest, newest toy is a paraffin stove. Never cooked on one of those before, so it should be quite funny. And because the Queen, Her Majesty, is a well-known chicken farmer, I thought I'd prepare her a simple chicken dish. And it's in fact this, some little kebabs of chicken marinated in piri-piri sauce, garlic, peppercorns, thyme and oil. And then I've got some sweet corn, which I'm going to make into some fritters with ginger and garlic and chilies and stuff like that. A slight little cheat I've had to do is to make a kind of a roux. This is just butter and flour and a little bit of water and stock so I can bind the ingredients together. And I'm going to serve it on a bed of tomato sauce. I'm using tinned tomatoes, onions, garlic and thyme, and serve the whole thing with a salad of pineapple and cucumber. This little village reminds me of, it's a daft thing to say, it's like sort of the Gloucestershire part of Africa, isn't it? All the beautiful stone houses and things like that. Anyway, some onions in first. We'll just let them take a little bit of colour. Add in some garlic. I'm not quite sure whether the Queen imbibes the odd glass of wine or not, so to be on the safe side, I'm having nothing this morning, just in case she's of that persuasion. Right, well, the onions are sweating down and the garlic's sweating down. Now I've got to make the basis of my fritters. So we pop some corn. Let me move that for you, Chris, I'm sorry. It's very shadowy. The sun's very bright and very hot. Put some sweet corn into the mixture there. Then add some very finely chopped chili, red and green, although the other way around, as we should say, red. That was green and red. Some finely chopped ginger and some garlic. And then we mix all that up. Actually, Queen or no Queen, I'm going to have a quick slurp. Very nerve-wracking occasion.
Lesotho is one of those unusual countries stuck right in the middle of another. It's surrounded by South Africa, but since the mid-60s, it's been a totally independent kingdom.
Add some tomato to the onions. Some thyme. A little salt. And a little bit of chili, just to really give it a bit of a bite. So that can cook happily away now.
My paraffin stove has been a sad disappointment, so I'm transferring the fritters back to my trusty charcoal burner.
Oh, help. Queen is arriving. I'll get these kebabs on very quickly. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I'll be right with you.
Okay, what are you doing here?
Very kind of you to let us come here. Thank you so much
pleasure,
indeed.
Really.
What I've been doing,
Yes.
I've been making some little corn fritters.
with sweet corn and cornmeal, a bit of chili, a little bit of ginger, and some celery leaves, and just gently fried them.
Okay.
Here I've made a lightly spicy tomato sauce, and here I've just got some little chicken kebabs,
Okay.
because I know you're very much into breeding chickens amongst other things.
This is
So these have just been marinated in olive oil and thyme and a little bit of piri sauce, and they'll be cooked in just a few seconds, hopefully, for you. Now, if you'd allow me, I will start to assemble this dish, which I hope that you won't have me hanged or executed or something if I don't, if you don't like it.
my mouth is already watering.
Oh, I'm delighted. Most encouraging. Most encouraging. So we'll pop a little bit of the sauce on the bottom, like so. I have to say, I'm sorry to sort of exploit this situation, but I have cooked one way or another for a lot of people for 10 years. It's the very first time I've had the honour and the privilege to cook for an African queen. It's most exciting for me. It really
So
is.
you've been cooking for
All sorts of ordinary people, but never queens before. You're my very first queen. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. I'm
thank
thrilled.
you.
Now, on here, this is a little salad of cucumber and pineapple
That's
with
really
a little bit of grape wine vinegar and a little bit of chilies, like so, to take away the hotness of that. That's sort of sweet and crunchy. If you excuse me 2 seconds, stay there, Chris. I'll be right back. And then it'd be jolly good if you'd be kind enough to taste it for me
Okay.
and tell me if I'm going to be allowed to stay in your country or will I be dispatched across the border. So if I may give you that.
Lovely. You can stay as long as you like.
Oh, you're very kind. That is our first royal approval after 10 years. Can we have your insignia on the programmes, please? So, not only have I cooked for the Queen has actually cooked for me. But what have you in fact cooked, ma'am? What is this dish, for example?
This is wheat.
Wheat, right?
We pound it and we mix with the split peas, and you can just add some spices. And
Are you
very nutritious.
Very nutritious.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really nice. The wheat and the peas are fabulous. They truly are.
And this is what we call fat cakes.
Fat cakes.
Yeah. You knead the bread, and when it's ready, you just fry it in oil.
Well, in a deep fat.
Yes, in the deep fat. Oh, this is really very nice.
My audience with Her Majesty Queen Mamahutu went so well, she stayed on for seconds. Huge areas of Lesotho are inaccessible other than by traditional means. And so, when the roads run out and there are mountains to be scaled, it's donkey power for the Floyd crew. Well, obviously, Lesothian donkeys don't eat carrots. Never mind. The mealie meal, this stuff, this grain, this flour from the corn. This is what everybody eats all the time here. And it does get a little bit boring because basically it's mixed up with water or with milk and possibly a few greens, and that's it. That's how they eat it, or maybe even deep fry it. So I thought to make it a bit more interesting, we'd get some pork, finely diced, with some fruit and dried fruit, pears, apricots, dates, or plums, apple, mix it with the usual spices, chili, ginger, red peppers, tomatoes, onions, all that kind of stuff, and then actually stuff it inside in little balls into the mealie meal and deep fry it. Hasn't been done before, so we'll see what happens. First thing, pop a bit of oil in. If I sound a bit out of breath, that donkey ride, if you
not used to riding donkeys on mountain tracks, I can tell you, is the most uncomfortable thing going. Not at all like Western-super-Mare sands, not a bit of it. And they really have hard backbones. So, a bit of pork in. Some onions. Garlic. Ginger. A little bit of thyme. Some tomato. Some chilli. A drop of wine for me. There's a bit more to go in. Better have a little glass. This refreshing mountain air up here. Does the job. A little bit of that. A bit of biryani curry powder. And we'll let that cook away for about 20 minutes or something like that. Ah, the mates arrived in time for lunch, that's good. Let's park up the horses, boys, and I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, so the meat and the spices are cooked. The next thing we have to add are the little diced cubed dried fruits. Apricots, pears, plums, and apple. Stir all those in. You need to let the meat cool down a little bit before you start mucking it about with your hands. Then we put in some dollops of breaded mealie meal. Gets mixed together like a Christmas cake. And then you roll it into little balls.
And simply pop it into the hot oil for about 2 or 3 minutes until they're nice and golden brown.
And we'll serve this with some of this acha stuff, which is mango and cabbage and grated raw carrot and ginger and garlic and mustard seeds. Very spicy, kind of a very fresh, uncooked chutney. Anyway, my willing victims, at least I hope they're willing victims, are sitting over there. Do you want to try one of my little things? Have a go at one of those. They're very hot.
Not sure if he likes that. I think it's time to leave town.